What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Gamescript. And we've got a Thursday night football game of geriatric proportions, and I'm going to be breaking it down for DraftKings Showdown lineups right after this. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at PumaCom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching Gamescript. Taking a look at the Cincinnati versus Pittsburgh game for Thursday Night Football. We got a 42.5-point total in this one with Pittsburgh as 5.5-point favorites. We've got Joe Flacco versus Aaron Rodgers in this one, and should be a pretty interesting game. You know, we like to start those veterans on our showdown slates, competent veterans, usually in exploitable matchups. I don't know how much of a exploitable matchup Joe Flacco is going to have with most of Pittsburgh's defense back. But so far, both of these defenses have been allowing about 19 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. So we could see a sloppy shootout, or at least, like hope for one. But I do think with Pittsburgh's defense back, that's going to be a tough ask. But we'll dig into that in a second and build some DraftKings Showdown lineups. Make sure to hit that like button. Get me to 50 likes so I can put my favorite picks in the comment section as we get closer to lock. Hit that hype button, too. I need those hypes to help get this show out there and get that viewership going. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm looking for 2,100 subscribers. I only need about 70 left to get there. Help me get there by the end of week 6. You're going to want to, or week 7, you're going to want to do that to get access to the free beta preview of the secret weapon that's coming out in just a week or two. It's looking really good, and I think it's going to benefit all of us with our research, whether in fantasy, betting, DFS, whatever. It's going to be a useful resource for everybody, not just DFS players or not just bettors. So you're going to want to subscribe to the channel to get access to that secret weapon, because it's only going to be available to the YouTube subscribers. So you also want to subscribe to the YouTube to get access to all the shows I put out. I'm going to be putting out a Monday 2-game slate and a Sunday main slate, as well as a Sunday game script episode. And we'll see what's going on Monday night, if there's going to be a game script for the single game on Monday. It's going to be a kind of a request by request. So if you want Monday night showdown show, make sure to leave a request in the comments for it. If I get enough of those requests, then I'll add one to the docket for Monday night. All right, guys, let's get into this breakdown. So we'll take a look at the injuries first, because there's some injuries that are going to be consequential in this one. First, we're looking at Pittsburgh here. Now, this Calvin Austin injury is going to be consequential because Cincinnati is most vulnerable to the slot. They've been pretty decent versus wideouts. They've only been allowing 19.5 DraftKings points a game. So that's going to push a lot of the action to the slot. And the slot is where we would have had a great opportunity to slot in Calvin Austin as a potential captain option. But with him being out, that's going to leave things to potentially Scotty Miller as our main slot guy. And Scotty Miller, we got a who's who of journeymen behind Calvin Austin and Ben Skowronek and Scotty Miller. Both those guys have played slot roles in the past. Roman Wilson, we could see him elevate to a wide receiver 2 role or a wide receiver 3 behind Scotty Miller. But we'll see how that plays out. With the Scotty Miller, we can take a look at him over on our DraftKings page here. Let's take a look at him real quick, because we know that's a consequential injury. He's pretty cheap at 1,500. So I'm going to have to do some more digging into this. I'm going to see what Calvin or Roman Wilson is doing in the slot and what the coaches have been saying about him. Going to need some more nuggets before I can make a real answer. But we'll use Scotty Miller as kind of our default slot guy when we're building lineups in this one. But keep a close eye on the comment section and get me to 50 likes so we can square that away as we get closer to lock. We'll go back to the injuries. Missing right guard and Max Sharpling, missing a left tackle and Gareth Warren. As far as the defense, we've seen defense getting healthier, but we still have some injuries. Looks like we got Miles Killebrew, Corey Trice, Malik Harrison, Dominic Davis, all on IR still. Dean Lowry, Isaiah Loudermilk, but we got most of it is getting healthy. So that's good news for the Steelers, bad news for the Cincinnati passing offense, and bad news for us if we want to keep this game closer to a shootout. We'll go over to Cincinnati next. Tanner Hudson is out. That's significant because Gesicki is also out. He's on IR, I believe. I'm not sure what exactly his injury was, but that's significant because Noah Fant is going to be facing off against a Pittsburgh defense that has been allowing 17.2 DraftKings points a game to the tight end position. So we got two bad tight end defenses because Cincinnati's been allowing 17.8 DraftKings points a game to the tight end position. So that's going to set us up here for a tasty Noah Fant night. If we dig more into these injuries, Drew Sample, we're not going to want to sleep on him either. He's going to be obviously someone that we can keep on our radar. Trey Hendrickson is questionable. If he's out, that's going to set up Aaron Rodgers nicely to have zero pressure from a team that's already struggling to produce pressure. So I don't see any others really there, except for a couple IR situations. So we can dig into more this matchup. Now, let's go to Noah Fant first. Just talked about him. And let's see where his price is in this slate. So Fant is at 5,400. So he's already priced up a little bit here. But we'll go through everyone here. We got Jamar Chase up first. Pittsburgh, let's see what he's done versus Pittsburgh, because the last game or last season, we might get some insight into how these guys did. Now, this is with Joe Burrow throwing the ball, so we can't put too much weight into this, but we can get an idea of how he performed versus Pittsburgh at least. So we're looking at 2025, the week 18 of last season. Jamar Chase had 14 targets. He had 10 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown. And then the other game in that season, he had 6 receptions, 86 yards, and a touchdown. So he had 2 decent games, but that's with Joe Burrow throwing to him. I think we'd have to go back to 2023 to see what he did with a backup quarterback. Let's see. Did he have a backup quarterback in this game? Yeah, Jake Browning. When he played with Jake Browning versus Pittsburgh, he ended up with 4 targets for 81 yards. Flacco is like a upgrade over Browning, but still not the best guy to be throwing to him. And last season, the Steelers actually shadowed Higgins with one of their better corners, Joey Porter. So Jamar Chase and T. Higgins might be in rough shape in this one versus Pittsburgh, but let's see if we can see something in the matchup where one of those guys might have an advantage. So Pittsburgh's only been allowing 10 DraftKings points a game to the slot. That's middling. 23 to the wide receiver position. That's also middling. Like a strength in defense. I think we're looking at tight end here. They've only been allowing 20.1 DraftKings points a game to the running back position as well. So Chase Brown is in a rough spot as well. Theoretically, Jamar Chase would have the best DVOA matchup where he aligns, lining mostly on the left side of the field. The defensive right side of the field is the weak spot of Pittsburgh, and that's where Chase will be running most of his routes, but likely to put a few defenders on Chase and then shadow Higgins. And that's going to leave the situation for Noah Fant looking pretty good, but let's see what Chase has done. 25 and 32 in the last 2 weeks. He also had a 39-point game in there. Like, they're going to be forcing the ball to Jamar Chase if they get behind too much. So Chase is definitely going to have a decent floor for us, but it's going to be like a tougher matchup, but we can definitely consider Chase in the captain option if we want to. DK Metcalf, he's come alive the last few weeks. 19 DraftKings points against Cleveland last week, and then he had 26.6 versus Minnesota. That was in that European game. They've had 4 touchdowns in a row in his games, and he's connecting with Aaron Rodgers pretty nicely. And Rodgers, we know, will target his favorite guy. Now, let's see what our situation is with the tight end in the slot position. I showed you the slot already. Let's look at Skowronek. See what Skowronek's doing. Now, he's pretty cheap at 300. So keep Skowronek in mind as well, because he might get some work in this one. Let's go over and look at the snap counts for Pittsburgh. Going to go to wide receiver and look at Pittsburgh's snap counts. We saw when Calvin Austin was missing last week, Skowronek had a 17% snap count. Roman Wilson had a 25%. Scotty Miller went up to 44%. So Scotty Miller was definitely the one who got the bulk of it, but we do see that Roman Wilson got a little bit of work too. We can take a look at tight end while I'm here as well, because we got a tight end by committee here in Pittsburgh as well. We've got Pat Freiermuth, who used to be the stud in Pittsburgh. He's down to a 36% snap count. Jonnu Smith joined them this season. He's a Arthur Smith special. He had 69%. And Connor Hayward actually had 10%. He's the fullback, but he got a touchdown last week. And then we got Darnell Washington up at 80%. Darnell Washington playing a role in run blocking. And they should be running the ball a significant amount against Cleveland, who has, possibly the worst run defense in the league, giving up 32 DraftKings points a game. So if we're looking at Washington, Washington last week had 5 targets. He had 3 targets the week before that. Let's compare that to some of these other tight ends. If we're looking at Hayward only had 1 target. He's only had 2 targets on the season. So that was more of a gimmick play. But let's see what we're looking at for Jonnu. Jonnu had 4 targets, 3 targets, 3 targets, 4 targets, 6. He's been the most consistent with targets, but it looks like Darnell Washington's been getting a significant amount of the work. So both those guys are going to be in play for us. Maybe not necessarily in the same lineup, but we're looking at 3K and maybe in the same lineup if they rely more on these 2 tight end sets with the slot being down for them. 3K for Washington though, and Jonnu is at 6K. Let's see what those snap counts were again. Let's see. Pittsburgh, we had 69% for Jonnu and 80% for Washington. So a good amount of 2 tight end sets for Pittsburgh last week. Metcalf, we took a look at. Higgins has not really done anything this season, and now he's got Joe Flacco thrown to him, but at least he had in the last couple weeks, 8 targets and 7 targets. He had 5 receptions for 62 yards last week. Shockingly, that is the best week of the season for T. Higgins. After signing a big contract to stay on with the team. We got Aaron Rodgers. Kind of went through him already. We're talking about old man Rodgers. How's he going to hold up against Cincinnati? We saw with the last easier matchup that he had 25 DraftKings points against the Jets. Get an idea of the Jets here. Jets have been giving up 18.9 DraftKings points a game. So they're one of the easier matchups for the quarterback position. Seattle and New England have been middling matchups. He only had 12 against each of those. Minnesota has been like a tougher opponent. And they faced Cleveland. So middling matchups for the most part. He had his easiest matchup in week 1, and that's where he scored 25.7 DraftKings points. He had a nice game with 17.5 against Cleveland, though. So, Aaron Rodgers, you can't really count him out, especially when the matchup is favorable. Joe Flacco, 18.8 DraftKings points in his debut with Cincy. He's got a couple good weapons to throw to. He didn't do anything until the third quarter, but then he started to light it up. And, like Flacco, once he's comfortable with those receivers, he's got a couple weeks now of practice with them since being traded. So, don't be surprised to see Flacco, able to put up points in this one, especially with, Pittsburgh's defense getting healthy, but maybe they're still a little bit rusty coming back. So, Flacco, I wouldn't completely rule Flacco out for having a decent game. We're looking at Jalen Warren. He's probably got the best matchup on the slate. Only 8.3 against Cleveland, but Cleveland's a very tough run defense. Prior to that, his highest was 17.4. That's significant because Gainwell, when he filled in for Warren as the starter, he had 31.4 DraftKings points, and that was in that London game as well. And Gainwell definitely earned a bigger role in the offense. He had 6 targets last week. He had 6 attempts as well. Let's compare that to Warren. He had 11 attempts and 2 targets. So it looks like Gainwell has earned himself a spot in the passing game, which is where we were drafting Warren for in the best ball season. So let's take a look at the snap counts on these guys. We'll get an idea of Warren versus Gainwell. 53% for Warren, 34% for Gainwell. That's pretty much his season, below his season average, I'd say. Caleb Johnson, he got a boost after the bye week. He had a 19% snap count, but he's had fumbling issues so far this season. So I'm not sure that they're going to have a complete confidence in him. But Jalen Warren will be in play for us at 12.6 in the captain, 8.4 in the flex. Chase Brown has not done anything this season. It's just been a terrible run game for Cincinnati. But if they are going to be focused on the passing game in this one, Pittsburgh's only allowed 20 DraftKings points a game to the running back position. But this could be one of those weeks where we see Chase Brown actually do something, especially with Gesicki out. That's one less target in the short game for Flacco. But I mean, they got Fant. So, but Fant, the backups are dropping like flies with Gesicki and Tanner Hudson out. So maybe we see Chase Brown used a little bit more in the pass game. He only had 2 targets last week, but he's been used before. He's had 8 targets, 5 targets. He's not doing anything in the pass game either. So maybe that's just thinking out loud there. Kenneth Gainwell, went over him. We're going to skip down to the Steelers D. They will be in play against Flacco. We've seen, with the more wounded defense. We've had 16 DraftKings points, 10 and 10. So Steelers D is going to be in play in this one. Boswell should be in play in this one because I think that Aaron Rodgers shouldn't have trouble moving the ball. It's just going to be a matter of converting into touchdowns. McPherson, they're playing at home. So, Flacco seemed like he was moving the ball better. He was getting sacked a lot less than Browning. Browning getting sacked as a safety in that game the other week cost me in the spy contest. I was at 16th place. I had Browning to chase. I was only 5 points out of like 5th place, and they had 2 minutes left to play, and Browning ends up getting sacked in the end zone for a safety, and then that was the end of the game basically. So very very rough feelings about those sacks that Browning was taking, but Flacco is taking less sacks. Pirine back with Cincinnati, 3 targets last week. That's going to be a thorn in the side of Chase Brown as well if Pirine's getting more work in the passing game here. Let me take a look and see what the snap count was for Pirine real quick. Pirine, we're looking at 46% snap count versus 54 for Chase. So it's becoming more of a like a split backfield there. Jonnu Smith, I already went over. Noah Fant. We'll take a look at his game logs. 4 targets last week. He's had 5, 4, and 5. Gesicki out. Pittsburgh week against the Pittsburgh week against the tight end. Now we got Flacco throwing to him. Like I would say that this is like a plus for Noah Fant. Flacco under pressure, likelier to be able to get the ball out quickly to Fant. So look for Fant to have a decent game in this one. Bengals D, not really into them, but they could be in play against Rodgers. Pat Freiermuth, he's got that same tight end matchup, so he could be sneaky at 3K, considering he hasn't done anything. Josephus with Pittsburgh, they're only giving up 10 DraftKings points a game to the slot, but that's not too bad. So Josephus could be in play. He only had 4 targets from Flacco last week. Let's see, Johnson, and with the damage to tight end, we could see less 2 tight end sets for the Bengals, who are passing at a heavy rate this season. Caleb Johnson, 6 attempts each of the last 2 weeks, not involved in the passing game, but he's facing that same Cincy defense, so don't rule him out for a sneaky touchdown. Whether or not that's enough to get into the optimal is another question. Darnell Washington, like I said, 9.2 DraftKings points, very heavily involved last week. Him and Rodgers seem to be hitting it off too. Roman Wilson, 2.2 DraftKings points last week. With Calvin Austin out, 1 target, like that's pretty pathetic for Wilson. But do some digging on what the coaches are saying about that situation. Looks like Scotty Miller had no targets last week, so that's no better, obviously. If we go down a little bit, Sample is another guy who can be in play for us. 2 targets last week. He's at 600. We got some cheap guys this week that can be in play for us. Skowronek, another guy with no targets last week. It looks like they were leaning on the, maybe the tight ends. Let's see what we saw. Washington. What did Jonnu have last week? 4 targets for Jonnu. 5 targets for Washington. 1 target for Freiermuth. All right, so let's go and look at. Let's see what else we got here. Burton has not done anything. He was interesting last year, and then he got himself into some trouble making some boneheaded decisions. But looks like he hasn't played this season. So that looks like it for who's going to be interesting this week. So I'm guessing that Jalen Warren will probably be a popular captain, but let's go with Chase first. He's going to take a drink real quick. All right, guys. Let's build with Chase and the captain. I'm going to put Flacco in there with him. I'm going to put Warren in there with that good running back matchup. Now, this is going to be a Pittsburgh wins type of build. We got Flacco to Chase in garbage time. Chase has been amazing in garbage time these past few weeks. Let's get some of these tight ends in here. I'm going to put in Jonnu Smith and Noah Fant. I'm going to put both those. We're going to go double tight end in this one. That leaves me with 6,600. We could get Gainwell in there and go double running back in this one. We could get the Steelers D if we wanted to. Boswell, McPherson. I like this build, honestly. Like, this is a pretty easy build. We could build this as a core and then just rotate in that final spot. If you wanted to go Washington instead of Smith, it gives us options to rotate in Gainwell. Don't like that as much. I think, though, we probably want to do some of these variations with Washington instead of Jonnu, just in case. I would not rule out putting, like 2 tight ends from the Steelers in a single lineup. I think it's going to be a tight end heavy game is what it's looking like. In fact, let's put Fant in the captain for this one. Let's say that Fant gets a decent amount of work. Let's put Chase. Let's get Warren in there again. Let's go with Flacco again. This one is more like Cincinnati's keeping it competitive, potentially winning. And we got Fant is kind of de facto run game because they're getting the short passes off instead of relying on the running back. Chase, obviously, with his floor. Jalen Warren with his. Let's put in... When I put in a tight end, it's usually because scoring is going to be muted. So let's go more with a McPherson build here. Or you could put in Boswell instead. Sorry, guys, my throat is... Let's see. We could put in Aaron Rodgers in this build. We could get, let's see, Brown in here. Steelers D and leave a bunch on the table. I would tend to, if I was doing that, let's put Flacco, or let's put Rodgers in the build. See what that does for us. That leaves us with 5K. We get Jonnu or Washington, both in that type of a build. I was reading an article that the quarterback position has been the highest hit rate this season on showdowns, which usually, like, I don't like using the quarterback as the captain, because in the previous years, the quarterback had been overused relative to their hit rate, but now it seems like the opposite is happening. So if I was going to go with a quarterback, I'd probably roll with Rodgers and pair him with Metcalf, and let's get him with Metcalf and where's my tight ends? Jonnu. Let's put him with Jonnu. Let's get Chase in there, and then let's give them Warren as well. Leaves us with 500 if we do that. But like I said, we got options like Skowronek and Hayward. We got a lot of cheap options in this one, so we have an ability to do, like a build like this if we wanted to. If we wanted to swap out Jonnu with Washington, we would have options like Caleb Johnson, Roman Wilson, like Scotty Miller. We have all those slot receivers for us. If we wanted to do Flacco, going to Chase, and maybe instead of Metcalf, maybe we put Higgins in there. So we got Flacco to Higgins and Chase. We got Darnell Washington and Jalen Warren in there. We got 3,500 left. So that leaves us with options like the Bengals D, Pat Freiermuth, like a few of those options that I discussed earlier. So, all right, guys, that is the rundown for now. Leave me 50 likes, and I'll leave my favorite picks in the comment section as we get closer to closer to lock. And hit that hype button. Help me get that hype button up so we can get the viewership. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. You're going to want to be subscribed to get access to that secret weapon coming out in a week or two. Only subscribers to the YouTube channel are going to have access to that. So make sure to get that free beta preview of the website. It's going to be a huge help with your research. And, that's it for right now. And stay tuned. I'm going to be putting up an underdog video at some point in my short section. So, all right, guys, good luck. And I will see you guys tomorrow.